Today we will be learning the three basic trigonometric functions. You might have heard of these functions. And what these really are they are functions that shows the ratio. So these are functions that show the ratio of the sides of a right triangle. Now, before I go into the functions themselves, I need to solidify a few terminology concerning right triangles. Okay, so this is a right triangle, and you might already know this side, the side that is opposite from the right angle. It's the longest side, and it's called the hypotenuse. And the other two sides are called legs. But once we start considering angles, so for example, let's consider this angle right here. From this angle's perspective, this, I'm gonna use A here, let me use X. Okay, so that's this is the hypotenuse, the longest side is the hypotenuse. From this angle's perspective, the opposite side is the side that doesn't touch this angle. So the side that is on the other side is called the opposite side. And the side that touches the angle, but that is not the hypotenuse, so this is the side down here, this is called the adjacent side. Okay, so adjacent and hypotenuse, adjacent and opposite are important terminology you need to know when dealing with trigonometric functions. And the hypotenuse stays the same. This is always going to be the hypotenuse, but the opposite and adjacent side are going to change when the angle changes. So for example, if I'm looking at this angle, angle Y, not at angle X, then the opposite side, this becomes the opposite side because that is on the other side from that angle, right? This is on the other side from that angle. And this side is touching that angle, and it's not the hypotenuse. So that is the adjacent side, adjacent side. Okay, so the opposite side and the adjacent side changes with the angles. Okay, so keep that in mind. Adjacent side is the side that touches the angle, and it's not the hypotenuse. Opposite side is the side that doesn't touch the angle, and it's on the other side from the angle. Okay, so now I'll tell you the three basic trigonometric functions. You might have heard of these before. These are sine, cosine, and tangent. And like I said in the definition, these are ratios. These are ratios, and also these are functions, which means you can't just have sine by itself. You have to do sine of something. So you usually put an angle. It's a function of an angle, or cosine of an angle, and tangent of an angle. Okay, and what are these the ratios of? Sine is the ratio of the opposite side to the hypotenuse. Okay, cosine is the ratio of the adjacent side to the hypotenuse. And tangent is the ratio of the opposite side to the adjacent side. And to shorthand this, sine can be written as like O over H, cosine as A over H, adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent as O over A. So we use the acronym Sohcahtoa to remember this. Now, some students are confused when they look at Sohcahtoa. They think that sine is opposite times hypotenuse. It's not times. These are divisions. Okay, so sine is opposite divided by hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite divided by adjacent. Okay, so using these rules, or these definitions, let's find the sine, cosine, and tangent values of a right triangle. So I have a right triangle here, and let's say I have this side is 4, this side is 3. If I know two sides, you can find a third side using the Pythagorean theorem. I'm just going to give the answer to you this time. That's going to be 5. Let's look at this angle x. Angle x. Then if we're looking at sine of x, this is the shorthand for sine. Sine of x, remember sine is the opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse. So which side is the opposite side of x? Which side is on the other side of x and not touching x? That is going to be 3, right? The 3 is on the other side and it's not touching x. So 3 is the opposite side, and the hypotenuse is 5. This is the hypotenuse, the longest side, and it's opposite from the right angle. So hypotenuse is 5. So sine of x equals 3 over 5, 3 divided by 5. How about the cosine of x? Cosine of x, remember cosine is adjacent divided by hypotenuse. So the adjacent side of x is the side that is touching x, and it's not the hypotenuse. So it's this side right here, which is 4. The adjacent side is 4. Hypotenuse, again, is 5. So the cosine of x is 4/5. And then how about the tangent of x? Tangent of x is going to be O opposite over adjacent. We said that the opposite side of x, side that's opposite and not touching x, is 3. Adjacent side, the side that's touching x and it's not the hypotenuse, is 4. So the tangent of x is going to be 3/4. So you can find the trigonometric functions of an angle this way. Now notice that these are going to change when you change the angle. So instead of looking at x, let's look at y. Let's look at y over there. And let's actually write the answers for y over here. So sine of y instead of x, if we're looking at y, which side is opposite from y? The side that's not touching y and it's on the other side of y is 4. So opposite over hypotenuse, right? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So that's going to be 4 over 5. How about the cosine of y? Which side is touching y, but it's not the hypotenuse? The adjacent side is 3. And the hypotenuse is still 5. And then tangent of y is opposite side, which is 4, divided by the adjacent side, which is 3. Okay, so the trigonometric function values changed, right? This changed when we changed the angle. It used to be 3/5 when we looked at x. It changed to 4/5 when we're looking at y. Okay, so make sure that you're careful which angle you're looking at. Make sure you know which side is the opposite side, which side is the adjacent side, which side is the hypotenuse. The opposite side and the adjacent side are going to change depending on which angle you're looking at. Okay, so this is how you can find the trigonometric functions of an angle when you know all the sides of a right triangle.